Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. We've almost made it through the week. So, if you have not tuned into one of our 90 Stories for 90 Years interviews, these interviews are taking place to celebrate Fraternity and Sorority Life being on DePaul's campus for 90 years. And we are really excited to have Paul Stromberg. He is a Sigma Chi alumni, and he's going to be talking to us about his undergrad experience and what he's been up to since graduation. And so, Paul, can you kick us off with an introduction?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Natalie. I am Paul Stromberg. I am a 2019 alum from DePaul. I was in Sigma Chi, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland originally. And I'm back at DePaul working in the athletic department, so I'm excited to be here.
So, you are not from Chicago, and you're kind of far from Chicago. So why did you choose DePaul?
Yeah, so there was a long application college selection process. I started out looking at big football schools because that's what I thought I wanted. But then I eventually pivoted and thought that I wanted to be in a big city where there was tons of opportunities. So I started applying to jobs in or colleges in New York and Chicago. And once I landed in Chicago and visited DePaul, it was snowing in April. It was just a rude awakening, but I knew this is where I belonged, and I'm so grateful for my undergraduate experience. It was amazing, and I'm glad to still be here. Chicago is a place like no other, so DePaul was definitely a great experience.
So after being at DePaul for 4 years, and I know you're going to talk to us a little bit more about how you now work for DePaul, what does it mean to you to be a Blue Demon?
Being a blue demon just means, a family. I think when I think of my fellow classmates or my professors or staff in the Office of Student Involvement or the athletic department, I think everyone just really takes care of each other and looks out for each other. I think that's something I really realized as I got older and further into my undergraduate studies. I think, everyone is going the extra mile, whether that be having internships or volunteer opportunities or leadership positions, all that kind of stuff. I think being a blue demon really means going that extra mile and being a conscientious community member, definitely taking care of each other, and go DePaul.
And so, I mean, you talked about it. You said, being a Blue Demon means being a family, and you've really found your family because you still work for, you now work for DePaul. So, kind
Mhm.
of tell us what you've been up to since graduation and how your experience in Sigma Chi helped you achieve your career goals.
Definitely. Right after graduation, I moved to New York for a postgraduate position with the Big East Conference, which is the athletic conference that DePaul actually belongs to. And I was doing communications there. And it was a wonderful experience to be in New York City in my 20s. That was a great learning experience for sure. And then the pandemic hit, and I went home to Maryland for about 5 months, and my position ended with the Big East. It was a wonderful experience, and I was looking for my next move, and a position opened up with DePaul within their communications department and athletics, and I had worked here during undergraduate, so I already had those previously established connections. And I think that's really a testament to what Sigma Chi helped me grow into a person who felt confident reaching out to my connections or growing my personal network, as well as just feeling confident that I had a seat at the table and I was able to express who I was when I was interviewing or when I was employed with the Big East or at DePaul, really just being able to feel comfortable with where I'm at and always grow and develop and be a lifelong learner.
That's awesome. So, you talked about Sigma Chi gave you that confidence and it really helped you be a lifelong learner. So what are some other lessons that you learned from being a fraternity life leader, and maybe to also talk about what was really challenging but also rewarding?
Yeah, so long story short, I never thought I would join a fraternity. Like, I came here freshman year and I was like, nah, I don't need that. Like, that's not me. And then freshman year, I found myself hanging out with a lot of people who were in fraternity and sorority life. And I was like, wow, this is weird. I'm naturally drawn to them as people, not just because they're in a fraternity or sorority. But so then I ended up going through the new member process my sophomore year, and joined Sigma Chi. And then I immediately kind of took up a smaller position. And then, I don't know, all of a sudden, junior year came and I was fully thrust into the community and serving on the Interfraternity Council for 1 quarter and then a full, full year as well. So I really, really, went from 0 to 100 really quickly. And I really enjoyed that though. I think it was definitely challenging to navigate the waters going from just worrying about your specific chapter to then, overseeing the operations of the whole council and all the chapters on campus. But I also really enjoyed getting that wider breadth of, okay, we can come together and we're best when we're stronger together, essentially, when we're all on the same page and we're sharing ideas and we're looking out for one another. I think that's something I really came to find as enjoyable when I was doing work with my council. And I think, there's always going to be challenges and there's always going to be rocky waters. But I think overcoming adversity and putting our best foot forward and leaving the council better than we found it was definitely one of my exec's goals. And I think we definitely did that. We left with a blueprint for people behind us to, chart the course for the future of IFC and the FSL community.
Yeah, and so I think you spoke about some of those challenges. So who was like a mentor or advisor that made an impact on your experience and like helped you through like all those different challenges and the exciting parts too?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say David Summer. He was a great sounding board. He was our advisor, and I would just like pop into his office and be like, "Hey, so this is what's happening," and he would be like, "Paul, I have all these other meetings. You can't just pop in here." And I was like, "Well, I'm just here now, so you have to listen to me." But yeah, he was an amazing resource and always just a breath of fresh air. It's going to be okay. Don't worry. We will figure out a solution. So he was amazing. And then you, as well as Ange, everyone was willing to listen as well as share ideas and communicate. I think that was one of the biggest things I learned is in fraternity and sorority life, being communicative is very important. And I think it doesn't matter if you're communicating too much, that's not a problem. I think people tend to be like, oh, well, they just assumed or they already know that. But I think, being very clear and concise was something that I learned and definitely it was better for, the greater good. But, I think other people, I think of Austin Reed, who was our exec president, and then Chris Phillips, who was also on IFC executive, and then our council, our president for Sigma Chi. I think though they were great examples of leadership and really got me jump started me into why I wanted leadership positions. I never thought I did, like I said previously, but seeing their leadership as an example really ignited a fire in me that, okay, I can make a difference too. So I think my peers, as well as those in roles with fraternity and sorority life, definitely guided me along and were influential in our success and who I am as a person now.
And I think it's so important to have those like mentors and advisors across like all levels because you like you're gonna be challenged through so much, and some of those challenges you want to bring to a peer, and some of those you want to bring to a staff member or an advisor. And so
Mhm.
it's good that you were able to find those in like all different levels as well.
Absolutely.
So I know you named a few brothers that helped you along the way. So what does brotherhood mean to you?
Wow. For me, it's a broad scope. I
Mhm.
think brotherhood can mean so much. I mean, everyone in fraternity and sorority life is always like, it's not 4 years, it's for life. And I totally agree with that. I mean, when I decided or found out that I was coming back to Chicago after being in New York and then home in Maryland for a year, I immediately reached out to some of my brothers, and they were so welcoming. And even if I hadn't seen them in a while or spoke to them, it's kind of like this natural, we pick up right where we left off type of thing. And I am extremely grateful for that community, whether that be just for a talk or to watch a sports game or something as small as that. I think brotherhood is all encompassing and definitely has came with me after college. And I think that means, supporting each other in any endeavor, and just making sure that you're there for people who might need to be lifted up, or just saying, hey, I hope you're doing well. And, those small little reminders definitely bring true the brotherhood and just make it all the more worthwhile, because yeah, it was a great time in undergraduate, but this is going to be long lasting for me, I hope. And that's what makes fraternity and sorority life really special.
So I mean, you transitioned so well to the next question. And I mean, you said you never thought you were going to join. So, but what is your best advice for someone who may be on the fence or who is interested in joining our DePaul Fraternity for Life community?
Totally. I never was going to join. I was like, this is taboo. No, thank you. Um, but I think absolutely give it a try. I mean, I think the worst that can happen is that you go through the process, you meet people, and you're like, you know what? Not the time for me. But I think for me, it was very rewarding experience going through the recruitment process and just learning more about myself, in the interview nights that I took part in. I think they really made me reflect as a 19-year-old. I was like, whoa, I've never thought about this before. It was very reflective time period in my life. And I think, you're going to meet so many amazing people. And especially, given my leadership opportunities, I was able to meet so many people outside of my chapter, which I never would have expected. I didn't even know what IFC was when I joined. So I think, I just think of Rob Davis from PyCap. Like we got together, we got along so well when we were on IFC exec together, and that relationship would have never been possible if it wasn't for me joining a chapter as well as him joining a chapter and us forging our paths to IFC. So I think that relationship is a telltale sign of, okay, that was the reason that I should have joined a fraternity. So go for it. It's going to be a rewarding experience. You might not see it at the beginning, but the end, you'll be grateful that you did.
Yeah, I think it's something I often hear from students is this is like where they find their place at DePaul is through fraternity and sorority life. Because I think especially right now, I mean, during COVID, being such a virtual experience, fraternity and sorority life can give you those those instant connections that are can be really challenging to find on campus.
Yeah,
So yeah, my advice is always just try it out, see if it is for you, and if it's not, that's also okay because DePaul has a lot of other things to offer. But I think it's an awesome first step in finding your place at DePaul.
100%. I agree.
So, what is your favorite memory from DePaul, but outside of fraternity and sorority life?
Oh wow, that's really hard. Um, I would say probably. I really enjoyed just like working. That sounds so bad, but I really enjoyed. I worked in the athletics department for 4 years, and I think, and now I'm back. Surprise! I think that was a really amazing experience, and I just think that that set me up for greater opportunities. And I am someone who is always wants to be busy and wants to set myself up for success. And I think just getting those awesome opportunities and access to our student athletes and their wonderful memories of winning games and championships and numerous other achievements was really awesome for me. And I think just being in Chicago was an amazing memory. From back home in Maryland, people are like, Chicago, you live there? That's so cool. Like, I only see that in the movies. So it's just an amazing opportunity. And I just think of all the times I took for granted, like walking to the lake or going downtown. So I think just being in Chicago was a wonderful memory in itself. And being a part of the DePaul family was everything I could have asked for.
So, what was your favorite memory of being in your organization or just in general in the Fraternity for Life community?
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite memories was going to AFLV in Indianapolis. That was an amazing experience. But I also think, aside from going to a national conference, I think with my council, putting on the Men in Mental Health Week was one of the most amazing things that I've ever been a part of. Bringing in a national speaker to talk on the topic of toxic masculinity and mental health, and doing various other programming surrounding mental health. I think nowadays, especially during the pandemic, mental health is on the forefront of everyone's mind. We have to take care of ourselves and we have to check in with ourselves before it's too late. And I think having the foresight of college men who are in their 1920s, whatever that may be, having that foresight to be like, this is a real issue and we need to tackle it and raise awareness and bring our community together was so amazing and very rewarding, just seeing opening people's eyes to, okay, this is a real thing. This isn't just something that I see on the news or I think that was a great experience. And just in my chapter, the philanthropy events were always really awesome, especially Derby Days and being able to help with Drop the Puck on cancer and, just any event that really brought our community together for the greater good was something I was very grateful to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think too, I think what you're talking about is like being able to be that like change agent and facilitate change in a very large community. I mean, we're like 1,200 students, and so be able to bring those programs that talk about mental health and be able to like give voice to so many different individuals that are experiencing that and bringing that topic up where it's usually not brought up. And so I think it's really cool what your council was able to do in a very short time too. I
Mhm.
think that's something about Fraternities for Life that you can truly make an impact in only 4 years. And that could be through mental health or sexual assault awareness or a range of different topics. And you have ownership on what you choose to change in the FSL community.
Absolutely, yeah. And one other thing, just being able to implement like all of our new members now do the Vinival training. I think that was another, I wouldn't say landmark, but definitely a step in the right direction of making sure our men are educated and know what consent is. And that was definitely a big statement from IFC as well. So I think just encompassing it was great to be a part of.
Well, thank you, Paul, for joining us this afternoon. And we hope that you continue to have a great experience at DePaul. We're glad that you're back with us. And so we will have one more 90 Stories interview on Friday. And it's a really special one. So we will be interviewing a mom and a daughter. The mom also went to DePaul, and then the daughter is now a current student. So it'll be a really special interview on Friday. So come check it out. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.